Welcome back to the Hooper Shoes YouTube channel. This is the New Balance Kawai 4. It's the fourth signature shoe of Kawhi Leonard, and I think it looks a lot better than the rest of them. And it performed pretty well. I can't say I love them, but there was nothing bad about them. On the traction, we have solid rubber. There's two different colors. The purple feels a little bit more soft than the gray, but both of them performed really well. And the tabs are really tall, so when you're making cuts, they have a lot of space to bend over and grip the floor. And it performed really great. These are one of the top traction performers of the year so far. I had no slipping at all, and I was on a semi-decent floor. It's not the best, it's a little bit dusty, but I didn't feel it at all. The cushioning setup on these is a huge step up from the Hezi Low. The Hezi Lows didn't perform that well. I felt some bottoming out and it wasn't responsive. And this uses the same foam, so I was a little bit worried. It's got fuel cell foam in there, and that is the yellow and orange color you can see. But it's mostly enclosed by this firmer foam on the outside. And so because of that, the fuel cell is pretty soft, and I think just enclosing it makes it a little bit firmer and more bouncy. So these felt a lot more responsive than the Hezis. Not the most bouncy and responsive of any shoe, but they definitely felt good. And I had no problem with impact protection at all. Then you can see through the bottom of the shoe here, it says Energy Arc. There's a top-loaded shank on top of the foam. And it's pretty substantial, pretty thick piece of plastic there. And that goes about to the middle of the forefoot. And it provides great lateral stability. So my feet felt good in these. They didn't get very tired. And I think that shank is providing some of that responsive feel in these. Then the insert is kind of this rubbery feeling stuff. And it's pretty thick. And it felt good. It's adding some impact protection, and it's a good thing that it's thick because we have a top-loaded shank, so you need some extra padding because your foot is going to be sitting on top of the shank, which is above the foam of the shoe. So then on the inside of the shoe, there's also another layer of padding that feels pretty much the same as the insert. So that didn't feel bad at all. And this is a substantial enough setup. I think you could put some pretty heavy duty inserts in these and be totally fine because of that shank that's top loaded. And then the heel counter is really nice. And it comes up pretty high, providing a lot of stability and structure there. On the uppers, we have this synthetic material. You can kind of see some of this plasticky material woven in, and then there's also a softer fabric woven in with that as well. And so it has the structure and firmness of some of those plastic weaves, but it feels better and it sounds better. It's nice and soft. Then we also have some mesh like material on the inside and on the tongue with felt, nice soft felt stuff. That's also in the forefoot on the inside is kind of that felt, nice soft material, which feels nice. It's really comfortable. I was worried that it wouldn't be very breathable because of that, but I didn't notice my feet heating up too bad in these. Definitely not the best breathability, but it didn't feel bad to me. Then you can see there's quite a bit of this TPU material. It's really thin, not super substantial, but that's providing some lateral stability on there. And on the toe, that should help with wear and tear. Then where the laces come in on the top, this is a really thick version of that TPU, so it's pretty substantial. That should wear well. And then I like how the laces are pulling on the inside there. I think that's really comfortable. These laces are kind of weird. They're really flat and thin, but they felt good. And then the tongue is pretty thick padding. It feels really comfortable, but there's not a lot of airflow coming through there. There's also a lot of padding in the heel, and that padding wraps around your ankle and comes up into the midfoot, which feels nice. When you really crank the laces down, it still feels good because you have that extra padding. But it does feel a little bit bulky on the outside here. And I think that's partly because of the shape of the shoe. You can see it kind of has this C shape going this way. A little bit more of that shape than I like. I kind of like more of a neutral shape. So that's something to look at. If you're interested in these, they do have a pretty significant C shape to them. Then I already talked about the heel counter. It feels great. It's really firm down at the bottom. You can see this thick plastic coming up the side, and then it's a little bit less at the top, so it's comfortable where it touches your ankle and Achilles. These fit great true to size. There is a little bit of extra length in there in the toe, but I wouldn't go down a size unless you have really narrow feet. Then you might be able to get away with it. But it tapers a little bit at the toe, and so this feels pretty snug even though it's a little bit of extra length. And then kind of in the forefoot, there's plenty of space, so it's not super narrow there. So it feels good. And then it having that C shape I talked about makes it feel more roomy in the toe, so it doesn't feel like you're getting your big toe squeezed in, which is nice. And the heel on these comes up pretty high. It has a nice shape that curves into your Achilles, into your ankle. Not in a bad way, it still feels comfortable, but it really locks in your heel. I didn't have any heel slippage at all. So overall, this felt like a great shoe to me. I enjoyed playing in them. They're comfortable, the fit is good, and the traction is top tier. The containment was pretty good. I would say breathability is kind of a question mark. I think you could get a little bit too hot in these. And then the durability, in a lot of ways, looks like it's gonna be great in these. I think the rubber will do well even outdoor. And then this material on the upper with the TPU should provide a lot of protection and durability. Something I just noticed though that might not be too durable is on the back of the heel, you can see these kind of already are peeling back. I didn't really notice that before I played in them, but they kind of have this lip that's not glued on or sewn on. And that might get caught on stuff and it might start to peel early on. So we'll have to see how those do as we play in them more. I think a lot of people are gonna like these. If you like the video, stay tuned for the next one.